Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named the Uniballer in TIFU subreddit about 2 months ago. The post is titled, "I used my wife's friend's phone and saw their group chat name. Happened last night, was at a get-together with my wife, her friends celebrating the host's birthday. His wife and my wife have been friends for years and teach together. She has an Alexa screen and realized it was giving them updates on orders, including contents. Not wanting to ruin Christmas surprises for her kids, she asked if I knew how to fix it. I told her I did and took her phone to turn off the shipping notifications. While I had her iPhone, a message notification pops up with the header, 'My wife's name swallows,' like Jane Smith swallows. Wife's friend's next to me, so I don't open the thread and start snooping, but internally I'm obviously very concerned. I decide either my wife's friend actually hates her Mean Girls style, or my wife's in the group and done something to gain said title. I manage not to say anything and just focus on having a couple of beers and watching the NFL game. I'm thinking, well, yeah, she does occasionally, but our sex life isn't that noteworthy. Is she cheating? We get home and she starts bathing my daughter. I ask for her phone and I open the messaging app. I immediately see a group chat called Swallows. I ask her why it's called that. Apparently there was an inside joke where one of them thought they saw bats in the backyard, and another told them they were clearly swallows. I didn't realize that when you text a group chat, the notification is sender name group name. She had been texting her friend from the kitchen, so it popped up displaying wife's name swallows. Naturally, she died laughing and shared my mistake with everyone else. Update, oh my god, she was really cheating. Just kidding, I know it's funny, but quick disclaimer, most of the relationship stories on Reddit are fake, and the real ones are posted because of heartbreak. So don't get tricked into thinking every guy gets cheated on. Go out there and pursue a relationship without being possessive and paranoid. We've been married for 11 years, have 2 kids, and share everything, password and locations. We've had our ups and downs, but love each other and would never step out. This was just a humorous story of seeing something glaringly sexual on its surface about my wife that ended up completely innocent. I even asked if they did it as a joke, so it'd say X swallows whenever one of them sent a message, and it never clicked with them. I asked her how she would feel if she borrowed one of my employees' phone and the Uniballer eats ass popped up, and she was howling laughing but understands why I was concerned for a moment. User Ral Jam Car said, "Whole bunch of guys in here think women's sense of humor is any different from theirs. There didn't have to be any cheating involved for this to be a funny sex joke like most group chats with longtime friends. My chat with a bunch of my best friends is called Backdoor Cum Sluts, and everyone has a name that fits. Doesn't mean we're actually cum sluts. Except Jim, who is on Reddit a lot and might see this. He's totally the real backdoor cum slut." User Raven402 said, "That's their previously agreed upon story and they're sticking to it." The second post was made about a month ago in the AITAH subreddit by a user named Upbeat Analyst. The post is titled AITAH for leaving a family dinner early because my mill told people I was raped. I'm 26 and my hubby is 27. We've been together since we were 16 and 17. Early on, I loved his mother. She was the sweetest woman ever. She welcomed me in with open arms and always made good company. Of course, like everyone, she had her moments, like getting a little too mad at a cashier not understanding her needs, or making a joke that made people a little uncomfortable. But everyone always brushed it off because she's just an amazing person. At the age of 23 to 24, my husband and I got engaged, and I don't know how to explain it, but it's like his mother's persona just flipped, like there was a switch on the back of her head. When we told her we were engaged, she got pale and looked like we had told her someone had died. Hubby got weirded out by this and called her out on it. She just said she had to go, and we didn't hear from her for about 3 weeks. So when we got stood up for our lunch date, we worried. Maybe my husband came off a little harsh, so we went to check on her. Hubby's dad let us in but had to talk to us first. He had began to tell us that she was shaken up by the proposal, saying it wasn't how things were meant to be. Hearing this, my husband got mad at his mother, implying that she had always thought of their relationship as temporary. He went to their room with me and his father following behind. We had found her coddled up with baby pictures of him crying. This was really disturbing for me, and I excused myself. I was extremely confused and hurt that my soon-to-be mother-in-law thought of our relationship like that. My father-in-law consoled me and said, "For whatever it's worth, I believe there is a little string bonding you and my son together. Don't listen to her." This stuck with me and made me cry. I still remember it to this day. My mill proceeded to text me that I had taken away her baby boy, that no one could replace the love they share. Yes, I know a mother's love isn't replaceable, but in my opinion, a mother and wife should not be in the same category to compete with each other. The love they show is completely different, and the love that's given to them is completely different too. She goes on to tell me that it was just meant to be him and her against the world. I didn't respond because it just weirds me out to think if she always felt this way. Back when I was a little girl, a parent of a child I was friends with tortured me. My hubby knew this very early on and often had to take a few hits because I had panic attacks, especially when we became intimate. He went out of his way to make sure I was loved and appreciated. He kissed all the parts of my body, including my scars. He was extremely protective in a way where he only worried when something happened for him to be. He took hits from men for me and shouted at whoever he needed to. To say I am in love with this man is an understatement. My MIL knew what happened to me and cried when we told her. Fast forward a bit, some space and talks later, his mother tolerated me. The sting that comes with this relationship change isn't describable. We were attending a family dinner where we planned on announcing a pregnancy. We had cooked words into the food saying who each person was going to be, for example, "You're my auntie." Most caught on. My little niece caught on first and then my MIL. She became silent, which we thought was for the better, honestly. After we ate and were just talking, she chimed in asking, "Is it really my son's baby?" Before I could say "excuse me," my husband yelled it instead. My mill says that due to me letting another man touch me, how is she sure I wasn't weak enough to let it happen again? While my husband was arguing with her, I just got up and left. My husband ran after me, cussing his mother out. My Phil left too. People soon started saying they had to go as well as it was getting late. It was 6:30. I later got a message from my mother-in-law getting mad at me for leaving and embarrassing her. I don't think I was wrong for what I did, but I am starting to think maybe I should have just stayed and left more appropriately. Am I the asshole? Edit. Because I can't keep up with all the lovely comments. Me and our baby are no contact and she won't see her grandchild. But my husband is keeping her number because we think having some way of communicating is better. I would never leave my husband if he does try to communicate. He's been with me through a world of hurt. This is a world of hurt for him. I'd never leave him. Just know that if you get an upvote on a comment, it was probably me. I can't thank you all enough. I don't really know where to post an update if there is one, but I'm sure I'll figure it out maybe. Update. Hi, first I want to thank everyone so much for all the amazing and sweet comments. Quick edit, this update was written over the course of a couple of days. So, for example, I said my husband kept her number, but then I said she was blocked. I am so sorry for any confusion that this causes. If you've kept up with my edits or replies on my original post, you'll know that I was low contact with my MIL. I've now gone full no contact. My hubby keeps her number just in case something happens. My baby will never meet her grandma unless a professional tells me that she won't act like that anymore. I know some of you think I should divorce my husband if he doesn't go full NC. Respectfully, that's some advice I won't listen to. He has been through so much with me, and to leave because he has to make a hard decision isn't what I agree with. We both think that keeping some way of communicating is what's best. Doesn't mean we are going to talk to her at all. Please don't comment "that's stupid" or "you're going to get a world of hurt." It's purely for emergency purposes. His parents are getting old. We've had to come to terms with needing to keep her number in case something happens. To clear this up too, my Phil never took her somewhere at the beginning because she had gotten better, hence why we went to a dinner with her in the first place. Now he is looking into people to help MIL. And I completely understand why he wouldn't just drop and divorce her. This is real life. And he made a promise to her to never leave when things got rocky. He may be blind and overly hopeful, but he is a man of his word. Also, all the comments saying what you would have done to my MIL made me and my husband laugh a lot. So thank you so much. Please know I saw all the comments and I love them all. Now for the real update. So I'd fully blocked my Mill's number and she didn't appreciate this at all. It started off with messages to my husband about it, then letters, home visits, and then a rock through our window. We have no evidence that it was her, but we have our suspicions. My Phil hired a professional to talk to my MIL and she didn't agree at first, then was willing when the therapist said she wouldn't see her son or his baby ever. When she said this, my fail proceeded to yell that she has no place in suggesting his wife might see her son and child again without consulting us. He especially got mad that I wasn't included in this threat of no contact. He fired her on the spot. We found someone else that understands our position and wants to help give answers to my MIL's family. Her first session went okay. She isn't keen on the therapist idea, but I think she just remembers what was said to her a couple of days ago. She's been calling my husband and leaving voicemails crying, saying I'm a witch for taking him away from her and that this isn't how it was supposed to go. We send every voicemail to her therapist and she's given us some possible reasonings, like bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, or schizophrenia. We've continued to get letters in the mail. They differ from crying like paragraphs to the way she plans on getting her son back. My hubby isn't standing for this anymore, so we're going to be moving soon, and my husband has fully blocked her. This has been really hard on my husband because he's having to grieve someone who's gone, yet still alive. User ZafJaff said, "What is with these women who are against their sons growing up? Like, there are so many of them, and it's an unhealthy attachment and is just so prevalent in society today. Like, why? Wouldn't your son growing up mean you succeeded as a mother?" To this comment, userpad Thai Fighter said, "Emotional incest or enmeshment. For some reason, these women developed emotional dependency on their sons as a replacement for the emotional support one would typically get from a partner. Essentially, they get jealous of the daughters-in-law for replacing them. Getting engaged and having a child with another woman is to them an unacceptable breach of this relationship style." User R Baltimore said, "I worked in American mental health care. The only explanation I can think of is if money was involved. I've heard of therapists making house calls when their clientele is wealthy. As for having third parties listening in on the therapy sessions, you can sign a waiver that authorizes it in terms of HIPAA violations, but most therapists would be very reluctant to do this even with a waiver, because it dramatically changes the therapeutic relationship and the success of therapy. Therapists may sometimes include third parties in therapy sessions, but it's always for a particular reason and limited to specific sessions. I've only ever done it with my own clients when the client, for instance, had something they wanted to express to a third party and wanted support for that. Or if I was trying to help a family member understand a diagnosis and how best to provide support at home. I can see a person who is very scared and apprehensive having their partner there for moral support, but having the son and daughter-in-law on the phone is shocking. I have a hard time imagining that a therapist would do it early in the therapeutic relationship, much less for the initial visit. But again, the rules can always be different for the wealthy as long as that waiver is assigned. This final post was made in the same subreddit about a month ago by a deleted user. The post is titled, "I ghosted my ex's dad after she said no and left me at the altar. I-21M was orphaned around 6 years ago in March of 2019 after a horrific car accident where my whole family were killed. At that time, I was in a 2-month relationship with my now ex-fiancé, and she stood with me more than anyone else did, and her whole family took me in as one of their own, but especially her father. He treated me just as he did his 2 sons, if not even better, and I loved him and still love him as a dad, and I've been working with him for over 2 years now because he's a lawyer and I'm studying law. Over here, you have to work in a law firm to get experience in order to graduate, and you usually don't get paid for it, but he pays me minimum wage, which is way more than he has to, and I love him for that. Living alone for that long, however, was lonely, even though I had a loving second family, but I wanted marriage for her to move in with me and to not be alone anymore. When I proposed last year, she happily accepted and we kissed, and her family were so happy for both of us. Then our supposed wedding came in this past June, and in front of our whole family and friends, she said no and ran outside crying, and I just stood there feeling like this was all just a dream, but no, it was reality. She destroyed me that day. Her parents went after her as I stood there seeing all those people whispering and looking at me, and I just snapped. I went home and threw all her stuff away that was already there, and then went straight to the airport to go to our honeymoon alone because it was expensive as hell, and most of the trip was non-refundable, and I'd already lost a lot of money in the failed marriage. Her family kept trying to get in contact with me over the next 2 weeks, but I deactivated all my socials. Even after I returned home, I couldn't bring myself to see any of them, so I even avoided work. I live in a small village where everyone knows everyone, and everyone here talks, and ever since that day, people made me this evil bastard that forced this innocent little girl into marrying, but she heroically saved herself, which is all bullshit. I never even raised my voice at her. Life then went on, and I found another lawyer to do my internship with, and he was nowhere near as good as my ex-fiance's dad, but it wasn't that bad, and they stopped trying to reach out to me, and people stopped talking about the whole thing, and it felt like it's just moving on. When suddenly, around 2 weeks ago, I was chilling at home alone at night, and her dad came over. I, of course, welcomed him in and offered coffee, and he accepted. Before we could talk, he started apologizing for his daughter, saying she got cold feet at the last second and refused, and that he too wasn't proud of her and wasn't happy about the whole situation. I told him it was none of his fault and that I'm sorry for ghosting him, but it just was painful to be around him, especially since she looks so much like him, even though I still love him. He asked me whether I'd like to come back and work with him even if I just want our relationship to just be a work relationship, because he loves me like a son and doesn't want to lose that. And I told him I'd think about it. Am I the asshole because of how I reacted, and should I return to work with him? Any help would be appreciated. Update. Sorry, my second account got banned, and this one probably will too, but I wanted to give you all an update. So after reading all of your comments, I decided to talk to him, and I did. We went out to a local coffee shop and talked. I told him I'd love to work with him again, but with only one condition, which is to not mention his daughter and what she's doing with her life, and to please not invite me to events she'll be present at, and he accepted. He told me that he too was embarrassed and shamed after the wedding, and that he's sad and disappointed it didn't work out between us, and that he understands why I don't want to hear about her. Then he asked about how I'm doing and where will I be celebrating the new year, and I told him I'll do it alone at home, which was the first time I ever did it, because for the last 5 years I always celebrated with them, and he was sad and said he'd have loved to celebrate with me as his son-in-law, and I told him to say happy holidays to the whole family, except her of course. Then we left. Thanks for all the comments and love, and Happy New Year to all of you. Update 2. Hey there, I wasn't expecting to make another update on this, but here we go. Earlier today, her dad talked to me and asked if he could come over, and I accepted. And he came over with a gift basket full of chocolate, which I quite liked. He told me that he just wanted to let me know that there was a second guy that my ex was seeing at the time, which is why she said no and left me, and that he was so ashamed to tell me that and so embarrassed in his daughter that he said she got cold feet. I told him that I had suspected so and that it wasn't his fault. I asked him whether or not he has heard what was being said about me after the wedding in the village, and he said that there were also people talking about his daughter and that she's a bitch for doing that. And I asked whether he could stop and deny those rumors that I was abusive, and he promised he'd help me and deny them. I also asked whether he could recompense with some of the money I lost in the wedding because I need serious therapy, and it's really expensive over here, and I put almost all my money into the wedding and honeymoon in our house, and he agreed to give me half of the wedding costs, which would be more than enough for me, and I thanked him for that. He also said that the guy his daughter left me for has already broken up with her and she is regretting leaving me for him. But he understands why I don't want to go back to her, and he promised me that it won't affect my internship with him. And I return to work with him next Sunday, which I'm thankful for because I hate staying home. Thanks again for all the love and support. User Preposterous Punk said, imagine going through all this when you already have the many difficulties that come with being an entirely made up fictional person. Do you know how hard it is to get a law degree when you don't have a birth certificate because you were never born because you aren't real? User Far Prior said he needs to finish the internship and get out of the village. Start fresh somewhere new. Now that the village knows she is a cheater, I can only see her parents pushing for reconciliation. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersubs. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.